Hey everybody, it's Dannenmueller and Garrett Steele out here, Crappie Country. We're out here on the water with Mr. Ed Mose. We're out here, I want to talk to you a little bit about one of the major tools that we use when we're out fishing, and that is rod holders and rod storage, rod management. On the boat, that's the biggest tools that we can ever use, isn't it, Garrett? I mean, having rod storage for all of our rods to carry them down the highway, and when we're out fishing, we got to have them separated. It's a great way to do it. And also we got to have the best rod holders in the world to be able to spider rig and to be able to go out and pull our planer boards or just plain pull baits and all of that. But we got with us today someone who is the owner, bottle washer, janitor, fixer, customer rep. His title will change throughout the day, but he's a great guy, and he is the owner of Driftmaster. Mr. David Baynard. And David, we'd like to hear a little bit about what's going on out there at Driftmaster right now.
First, I sure appreciate you guys. Appreciate you having me here, and I'm having a great time. And this is a rack I did for Dan and Garrett this year, for them to pull cranks and planer boards off the back of the Ranger. One thing we wanted to do, if you're pulling planer boards and cranks, it's a harder pull than pushing jigs, so we needed to beef things up a little bit, make sure it was nice and sturdy and strong. So this has two supports going down to flush mounted stainless base plates that mount to the boat. All this is, you can take this off the boat by removing this nut and this nut, and the whole thing comes off the boat in a matter of minutes. But we wanted to leave the access to the motor and some of the hatches in the back, so we contoured the rack to match the contour of the boat. Actually, I went to Ranger's website and just looked at the floor plan off their website and matched the angle, and did this without the boat in front of me. It turned out pretty good, didn't it, Dan?
It absolutely did. And it's so functional, and there's some other attributes that we asked David to do on this rod holder system that Garrett and I really use a lot. Number one, Garrett had the concept of tiering them possibly, which would help separation of the lines as we pull the boards. So it became extremely important to be able to have the tiering that you see. The height is extremely important to pulling those boards effectively. So David developed it that way. The other thing is they're totally adjustable. We can turn them any direction we want. We can pull them up or down, you know, on the bars, which he gave us all that flexibility. And they are really solid for pulling all types of baits. They don't move in all kinds of weather. And what he was mentioning about strain on a rod holder system, you pull a board, you know, an offshore tackle planer board, and you go and put cranks on there, and we're doing things like rattle traps and things like thin fishers and all these other baits. And jigs are easier.
Shots and cranks.
And so all those different things will work off these racks very effectively. And as you can see, our workshop is where both of us can be back here working. The biggest thing about a bar coming across the back that I personally wanted to change, if you notice with this whole system here, is there's no bar impeding us from getting to the back of the boat. There's nothing to keep us from getting a net down there to the fish in the back. And it's such that we don't hinder going out fishing in other methods and leave them on there and not have a problem. So it's very easy to use, inexpensive, but yet very functional.
I think one of the things that's always so impressive to me about David and Driftmaster is his ability to do what he just explained, and that's customize things. You know, he did the same thing up front. I'm real tall, and when we're spider rigging, you know, I need a little more space with my knees, and he was glad to do that, to make them longer, even angle them just as he customized them back here. And that's just awesome. That's service. You know, you get the quality, and then you also get that customization and that touch that way. And it's always a real personal touch from him as well.
What else have you been doing, David?
Well, you guys keep me pretty busy. I'm starting to mow the grass now again. But
Oh no.
But yeah, this rack, I'm real happy with this. This turned out really good. You can, the top of this top plate can be mounted going outward or inward. So this entire rack could be moved about 4 inches further inside the boat if that's what you needed. The staggering of the rod holders is real important, what they touched on. That allows you to make tighter turns. And when you're trying to cover a lot of water, it's going to limit you to really big sweeping turns, and that's going to limit you as to how small of water you can fish. So being able to make tighter turns is really important to access more fish in more locations. So this turned out real well.
The other thing I like about it is everything is stainless or aluminum or an alloy that doesn't rust.
We use aluminum clamps on a stainless material here. They grip each other well, and we use serrated flange nuts to tighten everything down so that you can tighten these nuts to a consistency that'll hold it, but yet you can force it to make your adjustments, and you don't have to have a wrench to make your adjustments. You just turn it where you want to go, and it'll stay there.
Very cool.
Put left thread on the left side of the boat, the port side. We put right thread on the starboard. The reason for that is if you're trolling a hard pull with a planer board or a crank, and you want to keep your rod angled out to the side of the boat, a right threaded rod holder under a hard pull sometimes will turn to face the pull. A left threaded will not. Left thread's actually tightening as you go back to the left. So on trolling racks to where you know you're going to be pulling a hard steady pull off the side of the boat and you want to keep your rod outward, use left thread on the left side and right thread on the right. Remember, you have to have a left threaded base for a left threaded rod holder. You can't take a right threaded base and flip it over. That doesn't work.
That is a great idea.
At Driftmaster, we're one of the few companies that I know of that recognize and design for that for trolling hard pulls off the back of the boat.
Very cool. Thank you.